Dan, are you familiar with Michael Vaughan?
Yes, I am. He's my son.
Okay. And there should be an Exhibit 1 and Exhibit 2 in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
Are you familiar with those pictures?
Yes, I am.
Do you know how old Michael was when those were taken?
Right before he turned 5. This was in, I want to say, May or...
And when you say this, which picture are you referring to?
This picture.
Okay. And that is...
What letter?
This is the same. This is the same day.
Okay. And is that State's Exhibit 2?
Yes, that is
Okay. And so I interrupted you. Do you recall when that was taken? Okay. How old was he?
4. He was almost 5.
Okay. And do you remember how long before the 27th that would have been?
Probably about 3 months.
Okay.
2 months, excuse me. 2 months.
And so jumping forward to July 27th, how did your day start?
Got up with Buggy, fed her. She was still having drink bottles at the time. And I drove Pidge as Kira to practice that morning. Somewhere around 7:30 a.m. I want to say.
Okay. And when you say Buggy, is that?
Oh, Aria, excuse me.
Okay. And did you go to work that day?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And did you get a call from Tyler?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And so, what was the nature of that phone call?
Well, I called at my lunch break. I had 2 phone calls with Tyler that day. So I called around 4 o'clock in the afternoon and said, hi, what are the kids doing? How's the day going? What's for dinner? And then I received a phone call from him around 7 o'clock.
Okay. And when was your shift supposed to be over?
9.
Okay. And so when you get the call at 7 o'clock, what did he tell you?
That he could not find Michael. He had looked around the house and outside. He was still looking when he called.
Okay. And how did you respond to that phone call?
At the beginning, I told him to go in our bedroom and look under the bed by the wall. There's a spot under there where he likes to hide, because you can't get under there.
Okay, and then, so did you stay on the phone when he
Yes,
answered?
so it was odd for him to call me, so I had a meat coat on, and I just put him in my pocket. I was dealing with a customer at the time that he had called me.
Okay, and there's a couple of things here. What is a meat coat?
It's a long white jacket that you button up. I worked in the meat and seafood department, so it keeps from getting blood on you.
Okay, and when you said you put him in your pocket, do you mean you put your phone in your pocket while Tyler was on?
Yes.
Okay, and so, so keep going. So what happens after this?
So I pick up the phone and I ask him, I'm like, hey, and at this time he's screaming Michael's name. And I said, did you find him? He's like, I can't find him anywhere. And he said he was going to he was getting in the vehicle to go look for Michael. And I just I put my phone back in the pocket, finished dealing with the customer. I had another coworker, they seen me, I looked panicked.
So I'm going to have you pause for just one moment here. So, Mr. Tyler Vaughan has remained in the room, which is fine. I guess as a victim, actually, we don't need to manage that, so that's okay. I'm excluding witnesses, but I presume the state perceives him as a victim.
That's correct, Your Honor. Yeah, both Tyler and Brandi.
So whenever, so just more typically, after a witness is done, I expect them to leave. If they stay in the room, I want to make sure people know it, because they're not going to be subject to recall or the notice. So apologize. Go ahead.
You're not- All right. So where you left off off, you were starting to feel panicked, or you believe you looked panicked.
Yeah, well, I was starting to panic, and I seen another coworker walking in front of the meat counter, and I asked her to go outside and get my coworker that was working in that department with me that night. He was out on break. And when he came in, I told him that Tyler couldn't find Michael. We had an office right outside of the meat department, and I was in there on the phone with Tyler. He's screaming, and my coworker, he told me, he's like, go, just don't even worry about anything. So I ran, I grabbed my purse from the locker room. I ran into my vehicle and drove as fast as I could to Fruitland.
Okay, and so you left work early to go help look for Michael?
Yes.
Okay, and while you were driving to Fruitland, were you still on the phone with Tyler?
Yes.
Okay, and so what happens next? Are you still on the phone with him or do you drive straight to your house?
Yes.
Okay, and were you still on the phone with him when you got to the house?
No.
Okay, after you hung up with him, did you call anybody else while you were driving?
My daughter.
Okay, and what was the nature of that conversation?
I was panicked. I told her that Tyler couldn't find Michael, and I asked her if she had seen Michael, and I told her that I needed her home now because we couldn't find Michael. So.
And so then had you finished that conversation by the time you got home?
Yes, I think so.
Okay,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
so what happened next?
I saw Tyler, and I thought he was with an officer, and I asked if he had found him, anybody seen anything, and I took off down to the splash pad. I saw two women down there, and before I even got up to them to ask them if they had seen a little boy, they were already told me that they had not seen a little boy in resemblance to Michael.
Okay, so did you draw on, or how did you interpret them telling you that before you even asked?
That he either talked to Tyler or a police officer.
Okay. And so after you talked to ladies at the splash pad, what did you do next?
I went back home. I believe I got out of the vehicle. I was on my phone talking to whoever I could that we couldn't find Michael. I needed help. I needed everybody there to help me look for him.
Did you leave the house at all or for the rest of the night?
Yes,
Okay, and where'd you go?
searching for my son.
Okay. And did you ever locate Michael?
No.
And have you heard from him in any way?
No.
Okay. During the course of the investigation, did law enforcement ask you to cooperate with them in different ways?
Yes.
Okay, and in one of those ways, did they indicate to you that they intended to use a live scent track dog?
Yes.
Okay, and do you remember what they asked you for to help them with that?
Anything that could possibly have saliva or sweat. I gave them one of his shoes and his favorite pillow, his blanket that his daddy got him, and one of his stuffed monkeys.
Okay, and so these articles that you gave him, or that, who did you give those articles to?
Law enforcement,
Okay.
the FBI.
Before, well, these articles, had they been, well, do you remember about when you gave those things to the FBI?
It was dark, so sometime after 9 that evening.
Okay, was it that same evening that Michael went missing?
Yes.
And did you wash any of these items or prepare them in any way
No.
before you gave them to law enforcement?
No.
And so the shoes, those were Michael's shoes?
Yes.
Or were they shoes that you would wear?
Yes.
Did anybody else wear his shoes?
No.
Okay. And the pillow, did anybody else use his pillow?
Me.
Okay. Was that during this, or before he went missing, would you use his pillow?
Yes.
Okay.
It was actually my pillow. I was still
Okay. And so before he went missing, or, well, have you ever gone over to Red Wing Street?
No.
Okay. And have you, and around this time, had you been over the hill by the bluff sign at the end of the street? Had you been over there around this time?
No, not around that time, but been out there a couple of times to go watch the sunset.
Okay, and when you would go out there to watch the sunset, where would you go specifically?
We would walk down the sidewalk on 8th Street, all the way down to the dirt road. We'd sit up on the cliff where it's, he owns that street. It's a private property off to the left, and we would sit right there on the cliff.
And do you recall doing that either within the couple weeks following Michael's disappearance, or any time recently leading up to his disappearance?
No.
Okay.
After, when I was searching for Michael, yes. I'm sorry, could you ask the question again?
When you were searching for Michael, did you go to the end of 8th Street towards the left side?
No, yes, I did, because the sun was setting, so that was around 9 o'clock, yes, I did that evening.
Okay, and where did you go on that occasion when you were looking for Michael?
I didn't get to the bluff, because I was told I had to come back because the detective needed to speak with me.
Okay, so you walked towards the bluff, but did you?
Yeah.
So where that dirt road goes down, did you go down the dirt road at all?
No.
Okay, did you go over the bluff at all?
No. I went the opposite direction. I went across the highway, underneath the top.
Okay, and is that this evening?
Yes.
And so were you driving or did you walk?
There was a time I drove down to the splash pad. I left the Jeep there, I believe, and went walking. I went up the hill on 8th Street.
Okay, but are you saying the opposite way from the bluffs?
Yes.
Okay, I see. So not the bluffs, but towards the splash pad?
Yes.
Okay. Prior to this incident, were you familiar at all with Mr. Wondrous?
Absolutely not.
Have you ever interacted with him before, to your knowledge?
No.
And have you ever interacted with Sarah Wondrous prior to this incident?
Absolutely not.
Okay. Did you also help law enforcement with any items for DNA sample?
Yes, I gave them toothbrushes, his shoe, the pillow, the blanket, and the monkey. that I gave to law enforcement.
Okay, and did you ever give your DNA to law enforcement?
Oh, yes, we all did.
Okay. And do you recall what form that was in? Like how you did that?
I think we got mouth swabbed.
Okay. No further questions, Your Honor.
Cross-examination for the defense.
Yes, please. Good morning. So at the time, on July 27th, the people that were living in your home were you and your husband, Tyler, correct?
Correct.
Your children, Kira, correct?
Correct.
She was 13 at the time, right?
No.
How old was she at the time?
15.
15, okay. You had Ben, your son. He was 10 at the time, correct?
I was 11.
Okay. And then also there was Michael, who was 5.
Correct.
And then, I'm going to butcher her name, Araya, correct?
Aria.
Who was 2 at the time.
She turned 2 after Michael was abducted.
Okay. And then also there was Tyler's father, Robert, also known Bob, who lived at the house, correct?
Correct.
And when you and Tyler were at work, you had a nanny watch after your children, correct?
Correct.
Jennifer Hanna, correct?
Yes.
Bob would never watch the children, correct?
No, not at the time, no.
Okay. Is there a reason that Bob didn't watch the children?
We didn't want to bother him.
And then Kira, would she ever watch her siblings being 15?
Yes.
Okay. When you and Tyler were, say, out of the house for a date night or going grocery shopping, would Kira watch the children or would Jennifer?
Jennifer.
Jennifer, okay. And then Kira, she would just watch while she was at the house, correct? Watch the children while she was there?
Yes.
Okay. Kind of as a third set of hands?
Yes.
Okay. And then on the 27th, you last saw Michael around 12 noon, correct?
Correct.
And Michael was 5 at the time, right?
Yes.
And how tall was he?
About 3'7". Came out to about right here.
Right, so about here, you would say? Okay. And then how much did he weigh?
He was 50 pounds.
50 pounds, okay. So 37, 50 pounds. And when was the last time you went to the doctor with him? How sure are you of that?
He didn't really get sick, so whenever he needed to go, because he was all done with his vaccinations.
But as his mother, you're sure that he, at the time, was 37 and 50 pounds?
Yes.
Okay. Was he still in a car seat at the time?
Booster seat.
Booster seat, okay. So he had graduated past the car seat to the booster seat?
Yes, but he was still in a 5-point. One of the car seats or the booster seats was a 5-point harness, and the other one was lap belt.
Okay, understand. And then let's talk about the living room in your house. At the time, on July 27th, there was a couch, correct?
2 couches. A couch, a love seat, and a recliner.
Okay. And that love seat, or the couch, was a pull-out sleeper couch, correct?
No.
Was the love seat a sleeper couch?
No.
Okay. But Michael would commonly sleep in the living room?
Yeah. He'd sleep wherever he fell asleep.
Okay. Because his room was with you and Tyler?
Mhm.
Okay. And you can say yes or no, the court reporter.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. And when Michael, your outside area, is it fenced in?
Yes.
Okay. And then the shop area, does it have a garage door to it?
Yes.
Okay. And is that garage door typically open, closed? How does that look?
That's typically closed.
Okay. So how Michael would commonly get outside, or anyone would get outside, would be through the front door?
There's the double doors in the dining room, and during the summers, we would use that door to go in and out of the yard.
Okay. And then could you get out of the yard with a fence door, or how would you do that?
There's a door that goes to the garage. That's how you get to the shop in the backyard, is through the garage. So there's an exit door to either or.
Okay. And you could go in and out of the backyard through that door, correct?
Yes.
So you left on the 27th, you left work around 12, correct?
I left my house around 12.
And then you got, your shift started at 12:30.
Correct.
You had your lunch break around 4.
Correct.
You commonly check in to make sure everything's going okay, correct?
Every day.
Every day, no matter who's watching the children.
Yes.
Did you talk to Michael at 4?
Yes.
Okay. And then everything was fine, no concerns. And then the next time that you had contact with anyone from your family was around 7 p.m., correct?
Correct.
And you said that was when Tyler said he couldn't find Michael, correct?
Correct.
You kind of took that in stride and said he's probably hiding somewhere, right?
Yes.
You said that he likes to hide, I think you said kind of under a cabinet area?
Underneath the bed.
Underneath the bed, okay. Would he hide anywhere else in the house?
He would hide in the other bedroom, in the closet.
Okay.
And they just built 2 kids this room.
Okay. And then would he ever hide outside? Is this something that he's common to do?
No.
Okay. So just inside the house he would hide? Is it common for him when he thought he was in trouble that he would hide?
No.
Okay. Would he play hide and seek with any of the neighborhood kids?
No.
And then once you got this call from Tyler, and you heard the panic in his voice, that's when you decided to go home.
Yes.
When you say the panic in his voice, could you tell that he was under the influence of marijuana?
No.
Okay. Is it common for Tyler to smoke marijuana and watch the children?
Yes.
When you talked to Tyler, you said that you were on the phone for him about 9 minutes.
I didn't say that.
Okay. How long were you on the phone with Tyler?
Probably about 10 to 15 minutes.
And then this phone call lasted until you got to the car, correct?
Yes.
And then at that point you called Kira,
Yes.
and you told her that you needed her home
Yes.
because she was a trusted person that could help you find Michael, correct?
She was my daughter. I needed to know where all my children were at that moment.
Okay. But you also wanted her home so she could help you look for Michael.
I wanted her home so I knew where she was.
Was the goal at any point for her to help look for Michael?
Not by me asking her. By her own free will. She wanted to look for her brother.
Okay. So at some point she went out of the house and she was looking for her brother.
She didn't leave the yard after that.
After she made it home.
Yes.
And she made it home after you made it to the house, correct?
Correct.
Because she was over at a friend's house down the road, right?
Correct. No, not down the road.
Okay.
No, she went to a friend's house in Paya. They came and picked her up.
Okay. So it took her about 10, 15 minutes to get home.
Yes, correct.
And then you, how fast did you make it home?
I would say about 15, 20 minutes.
Okay. And then when you got home, Tyler was already speaking to a law enforcement officer, correct?
To my recollection, yes.
Did you speak to law enforcement at that point, or did you go out looking?
I was out looking.
Did you go home first, or did you go to the splash pad first?
I went to the splash pad first. No, I went home. Excuse me, I went home. I came home first, and I saw Tyler stop speaking with an officer. And then I drove to the splash pad and got out of the vehicle to talk, because I saw 2 women there. And when I jumped out, they said, "We haven't seen a little boy." And I said, "You haven't seen a blue-eyed, blonde-haired little boy anywhere. He hasn't come through here." And they said, "No." So I jumped back in the Jeep and I went back to the house.
And in this neighborhood that you live in, it was common for you to go to the splash pad, correct? And Michael has gotten out before and tried to follow his brother to the splash pad.
Correct.
Okay. And has he gotten out of the house and never tried to go to the splash pad other than that one time?
No.
And you said earlier about the bluff area that you went to. Is this before or after you went to the splash pad?
After.
After, okay. And you said that the sun was setting, so it would be closer to 9 o'clock.
Correct.
Did law enforcement, did they want you to stay in the yard, or did you go
Yes.
off on your own and look?
I went off on my own and looked, but I did ask, but they wanted me to stay within a certain area.
Sure.
Didn't want me to leave the small area where they were.
Okay. In this small area that they were, it's the area that you and your family would kind of be in and around, correct?
Correct.
So the neighborhood where the Red Wing address is, you and your family have never gone to that neighborhood.
Correct.
And the places where you and your family, including Michael, would go would be to the splash pad, right?
Correct.
Would be up and down 8th Street, correct?
Correct.
And then the 8th Street leads to that bluff area, right?
Correct.
And then also 9th Street where you live, and where Michael has at least the one friend at the time, is the only area that y'all would walk around to.
Correct.
When you were walking up and down 9th, you spoke with two neighbors, correct?
Correct.
And they had seen Michael around 6:45, 7.
Correct.
And that was on 9th Street, correct?
Yes.
Where they had seen Michael.
Yes.
This cliff area, or bluff area, there's a drop-off next to it. It's an area where you wouldn't want your children to be playing on, correct?
Correct.
It's a dangerous, kind of like rocky, hilly area.
Exactly.
Okay. And this is where you have gone with Michael to watch the sunset before.
Correct. Not down that road, just right on the left-hand side of that road. There's a little cliff on the left-hand side of the road that you can look off of.
Okay. And I believe that you were informed law enforcement that Michael, the shoes that were missing from Michael's closet or area were some flip-flops, correct?
Yes.
And these flip-flops, these were new to Michael, correct?
Correct.
He's used to wearing tennis shoes, right?
Yep.
And it was common for him to put the flip-flops on opposite feet, correct?
Yes. He had only had flip-flops for 3 days. He was always still in buying flip-flops, so putting them opposite, it wouldn't fall off his feet.
Okay. So only had the flip-flops for 3 days. So these shoes would be difficult for him to travel far distances in, correct? And then Michael, he had a bicycle and a scooter, correct?
Yes.
And those were at the house on the 27th after he had left the house, correct?
Correct.
And the big wheel tricycle, Michael's never owned one of those, correct? On the 27th, law enforcement searched inside of your house, correct?
Yes.
And then they came back on the 28th.
Yes.
Did they search your house at any other point besides the 27th or the 28th?
Yes, and the FBI, or Idaho State Police, I believe. We had signed waivers for them to come and search the home.
Okay. How many times did they come into the home, if you can recall?
On the 27th, or total?
Total.
To search the home, I'd say I can recall 3 times.
Okay. And then the outside of the home, were there any sort of scent dogs, cadaver dogs, tracking dogs that searched the outside of your home?
Yes.
Do you recall how many times that occurred?
No.
Did any of those tracking, cadaver, scent dogs go inside of your home at all?
Not while I was present.
Okay. And then what about any sort of vehicles that you or Tyler or Bob owned?
Not that I recall everything they needed. I just said, here, yes, signed everything, whatever they needed or whatever they asked for, we gave it to them.
Sure. But you don't have any recollection of this happening in your presence?
No.
When law enforcement asked you if there was any substances that Michael could have ingested in the home, you told them no, correct? There was marijuana in the home, though.
Not in the home, in the shop.
Okay.
It was not accessible to any children at all.
So if the marijuana was on a table, visible, that would not be accessible to the children?
No, because they wouldn't be in there with it while it was out.
On the 20, or after the 27th, you led a significant effort of handing out missing posters, correct?
Correct.
You started that on the 28th, right?
Actually, Jennifer Hanna she had 100 flyers made, and they were actually donated.
Okay. When you
She brought those on the 28th.
But you started handing those out to the neighbors on the 28th, correct? And this included going over to the subdivision off of 8th Street, correct?
Correct.
So you would walk up and down everyone's house and give a flyer if someone was home, correct?
Or put it in a mailbox, yes. Or leave it in a door.
And so that was from the 28th up until mid-August. What time frame did you stop handing out flyers?
Current date. I
But
haven't stopped.
sure. But the week after, you were doing an effort of walking neighborhood door to door, handing out those flyers.
When I could, yes. Most of our time was spent with the FBI, Idaho State Police, the Freeland Police Department, Fayette County Sheriffs. That's who we were spending our time with.
Okay. But when you were not spending time with them, you were handing
That
out
was
these
sending
flyers.
flyers, yes.
And you've mentioned for the DNA portion that you provided police, FBI, and sort of law enforcement agency a shoe, correct?
Correct.
A pillow.
Correct.
And no one's used the shoe, but you've used the pillow, correct?
Correct.
You said that used to be your pillow.
Mm-hmm.
And that you gave them a blanket, correct?
Correct.
Other people in your household had used the blanket.
No, not that one.
And then a stuffed monkey.
Correct.
And did anyone else in the house use that stuffed monkey?
No.
And then you also provided a toothbrush, correct?
Correct.
And other people in the house had used that toothbrush.
His little sister,
Okay.
Aria.
And did law enforcement collect DNA from Aria?
Law enforcement collected DNA from all of us.
So you and Aria?
Correct.
Speaking about Tyler and marijuana use, was there ever a point where you would be uncomfortable with him watching Michael after he'd used marijuana?
No.
And you weren't concerned that he was smoking marijuana and watching your children?
No.
What about alcohol use?
Tyler really doesn't drink. He's never, he would drink like if we'd go on a date or something. Or have a couple beers on a hot summer day. Not much.
And was there ever a time where when Tyler was watching Michael that he could not find him before?
No.
Okay. So this is the first time that you've had to come home to assist with finding?
Yes.
And has law enforcement ever been called before to assist with finding Michael?
No.
And then, just to confirm, the last time you saw or have heard from Michael has been on the 27th?